Welcome, class. Today we are going to start talking about some different aspects of measurements. So, first of all, let's define exactly what a measurement is. So, a measurement are quantitative values, right? So, as we might think of observations, right? We observe things, these are qualitative. But if we call it a measurement, it's quantitative, means numerically based, right? And so all measurements have a numeric portion, right, which defines the magnitude, right, the quantity, and just as importantly, it also has a unit, right, which references it to some scale, right? A unit is a standard agreed upon quantity by which other quantities are measured, right? And for the most part, units, were made up. We established units to suit what we were doing, and but we have a set of units now that we use as standard, right? And so in science, the system of measurement that we use is the metric system, right, as opposed to the English system, right, which is what we commonly use in the U.S. with things like cups and inches and pints and quarts and these kinds of things, right? In most of the rest of the world and in science, we use the metric system, right? The metric system is a base 10 system, which makes it a relatively straightforward process to convert within. And it's part of the bigger, what we call SI system of units. Now, within the SI system, there are what we call base units that are used to base units that are used to express certain quantities that we might be measuring, some of the more, common quantities that we measure. These include length, mass, time, temperature, and the amount of substance. These five, at least, are the ones that we will spend the most time on and come across most time. There are, of course, other base units. For example, there's a base unit for electrical current, luminosity, etc. But if we look at the ones that we're going to be dealing with, we have length, right? The base unit there is the meter. We have mass, where the base unit is the kilogram. We have time, where the base unit is the second. Temperature, where the base unit is the Kelvin, the Kelvin scale, and the amount of substance, where the official unit there is the mole. Now, some of these we'll be looking in more detail as we go through this chapter and later chapters. But this defines sort of the accepted the accepted units that we use to express these different quantities. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't other units that we use. They are just not the official SI unit. Now, these base units are defined typically by some physical standard or process. So, for example, the kilogram has been defined by an actual kilogram, an actual sample that was said to be a kilogram, and every kilogram is that amount, right? And so these different quantities are based against some standard. So now that we have the base units, we're going to go on in future videos here and talk about things like metric prefixes and the different temperature scales and other ideas that go along with working at measurements. But for now, we really want to get down this idea of the base units and this idea that a measurement is not valid unless we have both the numeric portion and the unit.